You only live once. YOLO. This has become a popular saying that honestly makes sense. I completely agree with it, but not in conventional terms. Usually when you hear the term YOLO, it's in favor of the short-term pleasure you get from indulging in a night of partying, drinking, an absurd surplus of calorically dense indulgent foods. But Seneca's version of YOLO in his essay on the shortness of life is a little bit different. It's all about using every moment of time you've been given in this life wisely to become a version of yourself that you can truly be proud of. An idea that's effectively emulated in video games, which are specifically designed to give you a false sense of progress and purpose, and they do a fantastic job. I grew up playing video games, and I was particularly into RPGs. I remember that feeling of dopamine that I would get anytime I would level up my character, slowly growing more and more powerful, going from barely being able to defeat a level 2 squirrel to slaying massive fire-breathing dragons. It took me quite a bit of time, but later I'd make the connection that that feeling was just a watered-down emulation of life, a quick and short-term way to get that feeling of progress. We've been sold a lie that the greatest pleasures in life are the short-term ones. I've learned for myself that it's a trap. Those short-term pleasures slowly over time become the drug that both causes and gives relief to the dull pain and lethargy that most of us feel. It becomes an endless cycle. I've seen it destroy friends, family, and it almost got me too. And the moment you take those short-term pleasures away, you're left with just this empty feeling. There's a lot more that can be extracted from this life, but narrow is the way, and few that find it. But if you're watching this video, I think it's because you're a seeker, just like me. Here are some things that I've learned that have helped me overcome this. I think it could help you too. The first thing I want to talk about is how most people just lack vision. When I took the time to fully and intentionally envision what the highest version of myself might look like, that's when real progress started for me. I envisioned what that version of me would look like in all areas, spiritually, physically, mentally, and then actually let myself believe in it as a potential future reality. There was this trend not too long ago where I'd see people posting AI versions of themselves on social media. Usually it'd be this epic portrait of themselves in amazing shape with a chiseled jawline and this look in their eye of just ready to conquer the world. They would post these AI avatars not acknowledging or realizing it's a version of them that they could actually become, or at least what that version represented to them. Oftentimes a person's physical appearance is just the outward manifestation of the internal work that's been done or hasn't been done. And now that I've done a lot of work on myself, I believe that within everybody, there's a version of you that rivals your biggest heroes and people that you admire. In fact, I think it's why you're drawn to those people to begin with. I want you to close your eyes for a minute and imagine what the highest, most epic version of you looks like. At the highest of heights, what do you look like? How do you speak? How do you carry yourself? How do other people feel when they're in your presence? Understand that what you're seeing is possible. Give yourself permission to believe it. There's a lower part of your mind or consciousness that's going to be a critic, tell you that it's unrealistic or stupid. Push against that. The key is to shoot so high that even if you don't land exactly what you're going for, whatever goals you do reach will still be so much higher than what the average person thinks they're capable of. Now, the only way that this becomes possible is first you have to change your identity. Your identity and how you perceive yourself is the foundation for everything else. It's like the thermostat for your potential. If it's set low, you think of yourself as a loser who's not worthy or capable of anything worthwhile, then you won't go very far. But if you view yourself as close to superhuman who's limitless, then you're in a much better position to maximize the potential of your life. Again, your inner critic will call this delusional, but if you research pretty much anyone that has accomplished anything worthwhile, you'll see in interviews the level of self-belief that they had, well before they ever had success. What you believe is your identity becomes truth. That's how powerful the human mind is. Obviously within the laws of nature. I'm not telling you to jump off the Empire State Building and try and fly like Superman. So the question becomes, how do we change our identity? It starts with questioning, unlearning, and intentionally reprogramming the beliefs that you were raised and conditioned with. This takes some self-reflection. Journaling, going inward, meditation. And if you go all in on this, I'm not gonna lie, it can be pretty painful. You're going to feel alone at times, but it'll uncover a lot of wounds and limiting beliefs that are rooted in your subconscious. Once you get on the other side of it all, rewards are worth it. It could take months, it could take years, depending on the level of trauma that you have, but you might as well start now. It's a self-induced surgery that I highly recommend. Therapy can be a good start. It'll at least get you to begin to ask some of the right questions, but eventually you're probably going to want to go deeper than most people are willing to go. And that's where learning how to do deep meditation and really come in handy. I've mentioned this before in another video and it's controversial. For some people, the path of plant medicine can be the best thing that you can do. Go down the rabbit trail of Terrence McKenna and his lectures on psilocybin. I might make another video that's more in depth on this at some point. Certain countries like Australia are starting to legalize it, and I don't think the United States will be too far behind. The long-term benefits that they're finding in certain studies is staggering. Look up some of the studies and clinical trials on psilocybin, the way it's affected people's trauma and addiction. Weirdly enough, going down that path of psychedelics for a time is actually what taught me how to do really deep meditation that can bring me back to a similar place whenever I need to go deep. That being said, my point is everybody's journey is specific. You have to be a seeker and find what's right for you. Another way of changing your identity is doing self-affirmations until you believe them. You're essentially positively brainwashing yourself. And this works. Creating mantras like, I am powerful, I am worthy of the individual gifts inside of me, I am. Whatever deeply resonates with you. Get into a habit of affirming these things to yourself over and over, constantly throughout the day. Put sticky notes on your bathroom mirror or on your computer if you have to. And anytime that you find yourself taking action that aligns with those affirmations, you need to positively reinforce that behavior. Whenever I finish a big creative project of some kind of like this YouTube video you're watching right now, regardless of if it gets views or does well, I've gotten into a habit of genuinely giving myself positive reinforcement. Good job, buddy. You did the work. Keep going. I'm proud of you. Most people wouldn't put the time in to do this. You're following your purpose. Don't stop. Really, all these things are probably something that I would say to my son, who was genuinely and earnestly working towards something that he believed in. And you owe it to yourself to treat yourself the same way, as if you were actually someone that you loved and was worthy of love, because you really are. The brain responds to repetition, so find the affirmations that deeply resonate with your soul, not just your ego, and affirm them. Begin to embody the feeling of an individual who has reached their potential, or at least on their way to that potential. The next point that I want to talk about is delayed gratification. Self-actualizing that higher version of yourself is completely possible, but it only happens through embracing delayed gratification. Making it a habitual part of your daily life is pretty much the opposite of what society encourages us to do. Doing the hard task even when it's the last thing in the world that you want to do. Pushing through the resistance and internal barriers. Knowing that that feeling of dopamine will come after the task is dealt with. When it does, it'll have substance. It's been normalized in today's society to buy things that we can't afford for perceived status that isn't real. Delicious junk food delivered straight to our doors by the push of a button. Hyperstimulation of consuming social media content all through the day. There's no judgment because I've been that person. And at any given moment, I still have the capacity to absolutely fall back into that. Especially if I allow my self-awareness to drop for an extended period of time. So here's a few things that you can experiment with to practice delayed gratification. Try only consuming a little bit of entertainment every day, but only after the hard tasks of the day are finished. People used to watch 4 to 8 hours of television every day, which seems crazy, but now that's been replaced by social media consumption all throughout the day, spread out. Even if you gave yourself an hour of indulgent time every evening at the end of the day, that gross feeling that you get from doom scrolling will be significantly less if you know the tasks with purpose have already been finished. The long-term goal is eventually to change our definition of entertainment to something that's actually beneficial for our minds. Reading a good self-improvement book or philosophy that really resonates with your soul, or maybe self-improvement videos like this, is always going to be better than the type of content where you mindlessly scroll, occasionally blowing air out of your nose when you come across something kind of funny. Another form of delayed gratification can have to do with your diet, something like intermittent fasting, or just putting yourself in a little bit of a calorie deficit for a season if that's something that you've never done before. Sitting with a little bit of discomfort or hunger pangs. You'll also lose a little bit of stored body fat, which is just a plus. That's why weight loss is so hard for so many people. Really, it's the pinnacle of delayed gratification, putting off the gratification of calories, essentially. So that way your body gets to a point where it has to tap into the fat stores for energy in order to survive. Going against your animal nature to just conveniently consume whatever delicious foods happens to be in the kitchen all throughout the day. It's not your fault that it's this difficult. Our ancestors used to be forced to fast, sometimes days at a time. And this would encourage them to have to go out and hunt and be a productive part of the tribe, which in the modern day now is like working towards something, like a business, your goals, or just overall improvement of yourself. I think that's why something like intermittent fasting or lack of calories for an extended period of time actually causes causes a lot of focus. If you've never done that before, what happens is, since your body isn't using all this energy to constantly digest food, it goes into this survival mode where it gives you increased focus to get shit done. All that to say, delayed gratification is a powerful tool that you need to tap into. And I'm not saying it's easy. Take one small step at a time. A more advanced form of delayed gratification that you might find yourself working towards is leaving an entire toxic friend group completely, accepting being alone for an extended period of time so you can work on becoming a better version of yourself, so you can attract higher quality, more uplifting people. Friends who get as excited as you whenever you're making progress. All these forms of delayed gratification can contribute massively to becoming that higher version of yourself that you're envisioning. So once you've embraced delayed gratification and you've been taking the time to reprogram yourself and change your identity that serves you and your goals and the impact that you want to make, then it's time to take massive action so you can start to build towards those goals. But the key to massive action is actually baby steps. A mistake that I've made in the past is biting off way more than I can chew, and so it wasn't sustainable. Start to slowly integrate small actions so you can make a part of your daily life and routine over time, gradually adding more and more things until these micro disciplines eventually become habit and no longer take up so much mental space and willpower. Maybe it's starting with something really small, like replacing a soda that's really high in sugar and calories that you love to a 0-calorie diet soda. Taking short walks throughout the day, just reading 1 or 2 pages of a self-improvement book daily, 2 to 5 minutes of meditation, journaling just a couple paragraphs, or even less, just gratitude journaling 2 or 3 sentences, reminding yourself of the good in your life. Maybe you want to start a business. Take just one small step at a time, spending maybe only 30 minutes a day, then an hour a day, going to the gym just 1 or 2 times a week, even if it's just for 20 minutes each time, slowly building gradually. These very small daily or weekly actions, usually within 30 to 60 days, become ingrained habits. And once they do, they don't take up so much willpower, which is finite. Then at that point, you can stack or program more habits if you want to, and it won't feel so overwhelming. Then over time, from the outside looking in, you'll seem amazingly disciplined to other people. But most people won't realize how gradual the process has been for you. These habits become like the attributes to your real life video game character, bit by bit, level by level. Look at this person who never misses a gym day, who reads all these books, starts and completes all of these creative projects, but you know that you've intentionally programmed yourself this way, and now you're just on autopilot. When you get to this place, it honestly doesn't even feel like discipline anymore. All that willpower that you were using becomes habit, and when it does, it's awesome. And after a period of taking action and building habits, you'll naturally start to build skills and competencies, and these are the tools to create the experiences and the life that you want. I've learned that there aren't really any shortcuts. A shortcut would have been maybe coming across a mentor or a video like this to help point me in the right direction. It's so much easier to create opportunities once you've gained a sense of trust in yourself as someone who follows through on things. And as you develop skills and abilities, it becomes the evidence of your growing competence, which then in turn creates real confidence. Confidence that you don't have to fabricate, you don't have to affirm, it's real. This is a process and it takes time. I remember there was a point in my life where I'd be envious of talented people. I felt like they were so lucky to be so masterful at this or that, not realizing the work behind the scenes that they were doing. Countless hours and years to cultivate that talent, which now at a glance just seems effortless to them. YouTube is actually a great example. What is this? It's a form of public speaking. Early on, I would consume self-improvement videos just like this one. And eventually I'd become aware of these people's incredible skill to just talk to a camera like they were speaking directly to me and directly to my soul. The way that I'm talking to you right now, you're a real person, but I'm staring at a camera. It's weird. But here I am conveying this personal message to you. I got into a habit of scrolling way back to these big YouTubers' first videos. I'd see them stumbling over their words, talking off topic, being awkward. Now, this is like the 7th YouTube video that I've ever made, but I'm naturally decent at it so quick because of all the other life experiences that I've had that have led me to this point. Through other creative endeavors, I've had to learn how to perform, public speak, how to write scripts, how to edit and film video. Most people have no no idea the amount of work that individuals go through to get to that place of competence. You have to start with being okay at sucking at things and starting from square one. It can be very humbling, but the sooner you start, the sooner you can start making progress. So whatever skill you're putting off learning, start right now. Even if it's a small step of watching a 10-minute YouTube video or tutorial, do it today and apply it immediately. I know this can be hard if your mental health isn't in a good place right now, but that's why I talk so much about the inner work through meditation and journaling. That's the foundation you have to start with so you can be at a place at your mental health where you can follow through on other things. Be patient with yourself, but start small so you don't get overwhelmed. One thing I'll say too is that once you start leveling yourself up and learning skills and competencies and you have that confidence, things like approaching beautiful women, making new friends by being the one to introduce yourself, being more assertive in the kind of experiences that you want to have, putting yourself out there to land high-profile clients, it all becomes so much more natural. All of the dots of opportunity start to connect. It's the whole idea of sharpening the saw first before you try to cut a tree down, then try to cut one tree down before you try to clear a forest. So what's the point of all this? Is it all just self-interest? I think ultimately the main goal is to leave behind a legacy unique to who you are, building something that people, humanity, will benefit from long after you leave this physical plane. The idea of planting the seeds of a tree whose shade you will never sit beneath. I believe that working towards this is the maximum amount of fulfillment that you can have in this human experience. This might even be the purpose of life itself. Sure, you can build a self-contained good life for your family, your small circle of people, but going beyond that and building a legacy of some kind that serves the bigger picture, that's the next level that most people never strive for. I think that this is the most fulfilling thing that we can do. And that's why it's so important to first maximize your own life as soon as possible. Share, give back, contribute your findings to the elevation of human consciousness. Every single one of us has this potential inside of us. You just have to have the courage and conviction to tap into it. So if you're watching this, I think it's for a reason. There's a version of you somewhere where the beauty and strength of your physical body is at its full potential. Someone who's charismatic, witty, charming, but also genuine and full of purpose, who makes the room light up, makes people feel empowered and more like themselves. All of this just by being in your presence. Maybe this version of you knows how to paint or compose beautiful music or write incredible stories that change lives. Maybe this version of you can command a crowd and help push and inspire them. There's work for you to do, and I'm right there with you. Changing your identity, choosing delayed gratification, taking action, all of these things are the best way, in my opinion, to honor the gift of existence, to honor fate, God, the 1 in 400 trillion chance of you actually being here, whatever you want to call it. So make it happen, and don't give up on the person you're becoming. Watch this video next, tap subscribe. Thanks for watching.